Okay, let's talk about what a remote config file is and why it's important. You see, remote configuration file in the context of SwiftUI and Xcode refers to the ability to customize the behavior of a system based on certain parameters that are stored in a remote location. This could be a web service, CMS, or any service you use to store data remotely. The purpose of remote configuration is to allow developers to change the behavior or appearance of their app without needing to publish or a new update. Excuse me. This is particularly useful for testing different features, conducting A/B tests, or quickly rolling out changes in response to user feedback or issues. In a SwiftUI app, you might have a configuration file stored remotely, which could be a JSON file. This file could contain various parameters that your app uses to configure its behavior. For example, you might have a min version parameter that specifies the minimum app version that you should be using. In your SwiftUI app, you could create a model struct to store this configuration. You might also have a class, such as a config provider, that is responsible for providing the configuration. This class could fetch the configuration from a remote location and provide it to the rest of your app. To ensure your app always has a configuration to work with, you might also implement a local configuration loader. This could provide a default or a cache configuration if the remote configuration cannot be fetched for some reason. The remote configuration is fetched and updated using an update config method in a config provider class. This method fetches the configuration from the remote location and updates the local configuration. In your SwiftUI views, you can then use this configuration to control the behavior of your app. For example, you might display different content or disable certain features based on the configuration. Here's an example of how you might use configuration in a SwiftUI view. So this right here will be your object, your content view object, your view. Then you'd have an environmental object config provider. Okay, you have your body, some view, and of course this displays your config min version. And like we talked about earlier, if your minimum version is 1.0.0, then it's out of date, else it's updated. In this example, the view displays a message based on the min version parameter in the configuration. If the min version displays 1.0, it displays out of date, otherwise it displays updated. This is a simple example, but you can see how powerful remote configuration can be by storing your configuration in a remote location. You can easily change the behavior of your app without needing to publish a new update. So, let's go on and we'll talk about this some more. So when I talked about remote configuration, let's talk about just configuration in general. So right here, I have an app that I've created, right? And this app is just a basic boxing app. And so here's a list of gyms, of boxing gyms here in the Bay Area. And a few of them are made up. And this is gyms. And this is boxers, of course. You find these by location, whatever. I'll just do something together, right? So basically, this is a tab. Let's just go to our content view. Excuse me. go to our content view, and in the content view, we have this right here. And this is what sets up our initial configuration. This is our local configuration, right? Inside this struct, right? Init URL remote config with plist. And this, of course, this is available for download if you want to do that. So let me get rid of this canvas because it just gets in the way. Okay. All right. And actually, I'm going to get rid of this right now as well, just so you guys can see all this. Okay. So content view, if URL bundle.main.url remote config plist. And what is remote config? Right. It's this. That's that resource. Okay. And when I get the contents of this URL, right? This data, I take this data and put it from here, property serialization dot property list, and it returns a plist. This plist is a dictionary. Okay, inside of this dictionary, I have multiple key value pairs. Let's go here. One key value pair is feature X enabled. Okay, go back here. Feature X enabled. This dictionary is feature enabled. If it is, then I'll get, true, otherwise false. And I use it here. If this is true, gem list view, which is what we're seeing right here, right? If it's not, well, let's see what happens when it's not, right? Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. No, right? And let's go here and let's rebuild. Okay. And what? This feature isn't available yet, right? That's what it's supposed to say. Okay. And how do I know? Let's go to gem view. Let's go to gem view. This feature isn't available yet. Okay. Let's go back here and put this back to yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and replace. Okay. So this is an example of local configuration. Now, remember, I'm not going to do it like this, right? I don't want all of this implementation inside of my view. It should be separate from my view, done somewhere else, right? Depending on whether I'm using MVVM or Viper or mediator pattern, this is done somewhere else, not in the view. Okay, but you get what I'm trying to illustrate. So in a remote config, this is a local configuration. In a remote config, this information is pulled from somewhere else, right? This information is pulled from somewhere else. API call, object, something, okay? Some type of, I don't know, whatever. But, you kind of, hopefully you get the picture of what config files are and remote config is, okay? So, yeah, I hope that makes sense. And on to the next.